So, answers on the postcard time because, yeah, I have absolutely no idea at all where WWE are heading with all of this bloodline storyline. So, and that's not to say, well, I think it's bad or I'm not enjoying it and or whatnot. I'm not kind of, I mean, obviously, WWE creator, I'm sure have like much better minds than mine. But yeah, it all just seems a little bit convoluted, and it's a rare time where I generally am kind of like here, not entirely sure where it is all going and how it's all going to kind of come together. It all just feels a little bit convoluted here. So to kind of like just have like a quick recap for everybody who is kind of like maybe a bit out on the loop here. We had Jacob Fatu coming out to basically challenge Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns was like, well, I'm going to give you a week to think about this. Coinciding with this, Roman Reigns had kind of like reunited the OG bloodline, where he had basically kind of like had this reunion with the Usos. So basically, like Roman had basically kind of like enlisted the Usos of the task of kind of trying to talk some sense into Jacob Fatu and all of this. So the Usos then in turn basically are basically kind of like, well, sure, you want all the accolades, you want gold, that's fine. You got Cody Rhodes here, so and he's just taking a hell of a beating. So he's kind of like there for the, we don't have to kind of like do this family feud. But Jacob Fatu has basically felt like he needs all the accolades of the tribal chief because he wants to provide for his family and he wants a bigger house for his family. He wants better education for his kids and all of that. And that is all I thought was a really nice move. It makes it very nice and relatable. I think, although it's not necessarily manifesting itself, at least in terms of a crowd, because it seems to be the crowd are very much on Roman's side here as this goes on. It seems to be like they are kind of making Roman like the baby face in it, although I don't necessarily think that the characters are kind of like playing that way, because the Roman character that we get in here is sure it's not quite the heel tribal chief that we got in his last title reign, but there are still definitely those those characteristics, those kind of like trademarks, that sort of like manipulative kind of like narcissism, I am the tribal chief, acknowledge me kind of thing, right? I kind of like feel like I could see it all maybe coming together if it had just stopped at Jacob and Roman and the Usos and they were our players. But no, we've inserted the MFTs into here now, or at least Solo Sikoa and Tamatonga. Obviously the news that Talatonga and JC Mateo have been let go, so that's I won't talk about that here because that's another topic for another video that I got going on. So just to kind of like stay on track. So I mean, so I don't actually know how they're all kind of. It's all going to kind of like come together because basically now we have found ourselves at a point where in the world of kayfabe, Talatonga and Jason Mattel have been written out by Jacob Fatu, who basically squashed the MFTs. So they're feuding with Jacob Fatu at the minute, but basically they had to brawl with the Usos as well, so they're brawling with the Usos as well. A lot of people are kind of like speculating maybe a backlash. We're going to see the Usos turn on Roman Reigns. I don't think that's off the table, but I just personally can't see it. Or at least if it does happen, I can't see it happening quite as quickly as Backlash. I feel that's going to be more of a long-term thing. but yeah, I mean, I kind of understand the logic because I feel like there has been that sort of narrative where maybe the users were a bit too quick to forgive Roman Reigns, and so maybe that sort of leads, and it felt the reunion felt a little bit unearned in that sense. So I can understand people kind of going, haha, but maybe that was the play. Maybe we're going to turn on Roman, and I guess and like I said, I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility, but there hasn't been, there's not, I'm not really convinced that maybe WWE creative are kind of thinking that way, because I think but yeah, there hasn't been anything really hinted or to really indicate that the Usos are going to turn on Roman. So yeah, basically, I don't know, and then it's sort of kind of, and if I, like I said, there are a lot of people speculating about this, so to kind of like entertain that, I guess I feel like if the users did turn on Roman Reigns, then does that then in turn the Usos heel, or and how does it all kind of like still come together? I mean, because the users are still feuding with Solo Sikoa and Tonga, so do they end up joining Roman and Zay? I can't see that. So, like, I'm generally confused as to how it's all kind of coming together. And obviously WWE Creative do have a plan for it, but I just don't see it. And somewhere in the midst of all of this, I'm guessing the whole kind of like we just have to assume that Drew McIntyre was the one who attacked Jacob for two, right? Because that's a storyline that's just been kind of like a bit abandoned. I feel like we're not really going to kind of circle back around to that. So yeah, it all just feels a little bit convoluted. And then it all kind of came to a head at the latest episode of Raw, where basically Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns were basically having their big contract signing. Obviously, this is never a thing, kind of like with a lot of the other matches that are made for the match card. They don't have a big signing in the ring for every single match that's been announced. So the fact that they did this, and as a kind of like a main event, you knew that it wasn't just going to be a simple signing of your names. You knew shit was going to go down, and so it did. And for the first time, it wasn't for me, right? I feel like I said, because all the while I've been a little bit confused as to where it's going. But like I said, I can't say I haven't been enjoying it, you know what I mean? Because there's a part of me that, I remember a time where WWE was just far too predictable for me. So there is a certain freshness. There is something that I do quite like about the fact that we've got this storyline and I have no idea where it's going. But yeah, it does all, it does all feel a little bit convoluted. And I thought, like, look, in this segment where basically Jacob Fatu and Roman Reigns were having their kind of like face off when they were signing the contract. Look, Roman Reigns' skills are as good as anybody's, so I loved how he kind of like just sells everything with his face. We kind of like see him really selling this Tongan death grip and stuff. He's his the passion and his delivery and his commitment to the character and everything just cannot be doubted. He is just one of the best, right? So for all those accolades, he kind of made it work, right? But if you kind of put all that away and you just focus purely on the content of what Roman Reigns was saying here, Roman was talking absolute codswallop, right? Because he's basically kind of just going, going, well, you should acknowledge me, you should respect me because I opened the doors for all of you. I opened the doors for you, Jacob. Yes, I may not have opened it directly, but I opened the door for Sola Sikoa, and Sola Sikoa opened the door for you, so therefore I opened the door for you. Like, that just seems like playground logic, right? And then he kind of like goes on to a tongue and death grip, and he goes, and then you disrespect me with a tongue and death grip. What are we in, like in a bar at 3 a.m? Like, this tongue and death grip, that's a move that you kind of like reserve for, like, if you're outnumbered 8-1 in a bar fight. Right, I'm no self-defense expert, right? You know what I mean? But my advice would be, if you are surrounded and you are outnumbered 8-1 in a fight, do not apply any sort of chokehold unless you're an octopus, right? Because it's not going to end well for you, right? So I just don't kind of like, so it all just, I was extra kind of like baffled by kind of like, what is actually like being said here. And, you know, Roman's basically kind of like going on, you know, you're worried about your 7 kids, Jacob, but I've been kind of like accounted for like generations of kids, you know, and all of this. And, you know, it would have been coherent for Jacob to kind of like respond to this and get, you know, some kind of like relatability and go, well, you're saying all this, Roman, but, you know, I'm your cousin and you never helped me. Like, that would have been the kind of like the simple like A to B response here, but he didn't do that. And it was all just a little bit, it all just, I'm generally like putting this video out to you guys, because seeing like, you know, what your little thoughts are, what your little fan theories are, as we basically explore this little feud and this and the connotations it has with the Usos and Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga and all of that. Some people are like speculating that we're going to get Zilla for 2 return in a Backlash as well. So if he did return, that's another person thrown into this mix, I guess. So I generally don't know where they are heading with this, right? And I'm on board for it. I'm intrigued, but I am also just absolutely completely baffled by it all as well. So that's kind of like just what I kind of like wanted to put out here, guys. So feel free to let me know down in the comment section about what your thoughts are about all of this, and, you know, what your potential like expectations or fan theories are going forward and all of this, because I absolutely have no flubbing idea, right? So basically, thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more, don't forget to ring a bell for notifications. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Please feel free to let me down, like I said, in the comment section about what your own thoughts were, and I'll see you guys on the next video. You guys take care.